Come here, girl. You're free. There you go. Go on.
I'm gonna start this thing in the middle, not at the beginning. Because if I start at the beginning, you're gonna hear about a regular Tuesday morning in a quiet retirement neighborhood, couple of folks, a sleepy dog on the couch, nothing going on, and you might click away. But if I start right here, if I start at the exact moment my husband stepped out our front door at 5:15 in the morning, still in his jacket thrown over his pajamas, kneeling down in the wet grass next to a dog he had never seen before in his life, well, that's a different story. And I want to tell you one thing before anything else. That dog, that big, brown, beat-up, bone-tired dog lying in our front yard like she'd already decided this was where she was stopping, had walked 65 miles to get there. 65 miles. By herself. No leash, no person walking her. Over 2 weeks of I don't even know what. Roads, fields, ditches, whatever's between the South Carolina coast and where we live. She did all of that, and then she walked into our neighborhood, past probably 100 houses, and she lay down in our yard. I've asked myself why so many times since that morning. I still don't have a good answer. I'm not sure I ever will. What I've got is the story. And I really think, it's worth telling, because it changed something in me. Not in some big dramatic way, just quietly, kinda crept up on me over the days after it happened. So stay with me here, because the part that really got me, the part I still can't think about without having to take a breath, that doesn't come at the beginning. That comes right at the end, when the owner showed up to take her home. You'll want to be here for that part, I promise you. All right, let me back up. My name's Carol, I'm 52 years old, and I'll be honest with you, I'm one of those people who never really planned on retiring early, but life had other ideas, and here we are. Before this, I spent over 20 years in nursing. Long hours, a lot of coffee, a lot of giving everything I had to other people. Good work, I don't regret a day of it, but I don't miss the pace of it either. My husband, Frank, he's 63, retired a few years ahead of me from a long career in logistics management, 31 years of moving things from one place to another with precision. Watching him finally slow down after all those years was honestly one of the best things I've ever gotten to see. He earned every slow morning he has now, every single one. We live in a gated retirement community just outside of Columbia, South Carolina. Good neighborhood, the kind of place where the trees have been there longer than the houses, where everybody knows everybody at least enough to wave, and where nobody's really in a hurry to get anywhere. There's a little pond at the back of the property, geese that come through in the spring, sidewalks wide enough to walk 2 across, and dogs. Everywhere you look, there are dogs. Ours is named Biscuit. I know how that sounds. I want you to know that I chose that name, and Frank made his peace with it a long time ago. Biscuit is a Shetland sheepdog, a Sheltie, 6 years old, gorgeous coat, that sable and white coloring that makes people slow their cars down to look. He's the kind of dog that has opinions, strong opinions, about the mail, about squirrels, about whether the neighbors are walking their dog on the correct side of the street. He communicates, is what I'm saying, has a whole vocabulary. Couple years in and you learn what each sound means. There's his everyday bark, loud, sharp, I see something. There's his excited bark, higher, faster, something good is happening. And then there's this other thing he does, this low sound that sits way back in his chest. Barely even makes it out as sound, more like a vibration. Not barking, something older than barking. In 6 years, I've heard that sound maybe 4 times. The morning this story starts, Tuesday morning, middle of October, sky still completely dark at 4:45, Biscuit made that sound. Now, I was asleep. I want to be upfront about that right now, and I'm not going to dress it up. I sleep in, always have. Frank, on the other hand, he's the early riser in this marriage, up before the sun most mornings, coffee already made, sitting in the quiet with his book before the rest of the world gets going. I have genuinely never fully understood this about him. 28 years of marriage and it still baffles me, but that's just how he's wired. So Frank is up. It's not even 5 o'clock yet. Sky outside the front window is that deep, dark blue, the in-between color. Not night anymore, but not morning either. He's on the couch with his coffee and his book, Biscuit's at his feet. And then Biscuit's not at his feet anymore. Frank heard him move before he heard the sound, the soft click of his nails on the hardwood as he crossed to the front window. And then that low vibration started. His nose at the sill, his whole body locked up, totally still, eyes fixed on something outside in the dark. Frank's first thought was deer. We get them sometimes. They find gaps near the maintenance fence by the pond and wander in. Biscuit doesn't love deer, but he doesn't do the low sound for deer. He just barks. His second thought, and Frank admitted this made his stomach do something unpleasant, was that somebody was out there, a person, standing in the yard in the dark at 5 in the morning with no business being there. He got up slow, didn't flip any lights on inside, didn't want to spook whatever was out there before he got a look at it himself. Eased up next to Biscuit and looked out the window. And there, lying in our grass, maybe 15 feet from the front porch steps, was a dog. Big dog. Brown, maybe. Hard to say for sure with everything matted into her coat. She was stretched out flat, front legs straight ahead of her, chin on the ground. Not moving, not sniffing around, not doing anything a lost dog usually does when it wanders into somebody's yard. Just lying there, looking straight at the window. Frank stood there watching her for a full minute. The dog didn't move, didn't look away, just held eye contact with him through that glass like she'd already decided something and was just waiting on the other party to catch up. Like she'd come a long way and she was finally done walking. Okay, so here's the thing about Frank that you need to understand, because it matters a lot for what happens next. Frank he's not a reckless person. 31 years in logistics does something to the way you make decisions. You get calibrated. You learn to read a situation fast and move deliberately, because in his world for 3 decades, moving wrong had consequences. He doesn't rush, he doesn't panic, he assesses. But Frank also, and I mean this sincerely, Frank has a thing with animals, specifically dogs. He grew up with them his whole life. For about 10 years before we moved into this community, he volunteered with a local dog rescue, fostering animals between the shelter and their permanent homes, some of them for a few days, some for months. He's had dogs that were scared of their own shadow, dogs that had been through things I don't want to describe, dogs that came to him in rough shape and left in better shape because of how he handled them. He told me later that he looked at that dog through the window and he just knew. She wasn't a threat. She was exhausted. Those are 2 very different things, and Frank's been able to tell the difference for a long time. So he did what Frank does. Told Biscuit to stay, got him settled back with a treat, pulled on his jacket from the hook by the door, stepped into his shoes, and went outside. The air hit him cool and damp, that thick, still kind of quiet you only get in the South before dawn, where everything feels slightly suspended. His footsteps in the wet grass were louder than he wanted them to be. He moved slow across the yard, no sudden movements, no talking yet, just letting the dog see him coming the whole way. The dog watched him, didn't get up, didn't back away, lifted her head, tracked Frank coming across the yard, but didn't scramble to her feet or tuck her tail or show her teeth. She just watched. And Frank said her eyes, this is the description he used when he told me about it later, and it stuck with me. He said her eyes looked less like a stray on guard and more like a person at the end of a very, very long week. Not scared, not aggressive, just used up. Like whatever she'd been carrying, she was putting it down right here. Frank got close enough to crouch down to her level. The dog let out a long breath through her nose and put her chin back on her paws. That was the whole greeting, just that. Like, okay, I found the right place. We're good now. Frank sat right there in the wet grass next to her and just took stock of what he was looking at. And the more he looked, the more he could see what this dog had been through. She was lean, not dangerously thin, but the kind of lean where you can see that the body's been spending more than it's been taking in for a good while. Her coat, which Frank figured was a chocolate brown underneath everything, was matted in thick sections, clumped up with dried mud and what looked like creek debris. Scratches on both front legs, the kind you pick up pushing through briars or thick underbrush. One ear had a small, fresh notch in it, still a little raw. And her paws. Frank came back to her paws when he was telling me all of this later. He lifted one gently, just to look. The pads were worn, not split open, not bleeding, but rubbed down in this specific way that you only get from a sustained amount of walking across a lot of different surfaces. Pavement, gravel, dirt, all of it over time adds up, and you can see it. This dog had been on the road for a long time. Frank went back inside, got the big mixing bowl from the kitchen and filled it with cold water, measured out a cup of Biscuit's food, and then, and this is so completely Frank, I don't even know why I'm surprised, he spotted a leftover lamb chop in the fridge from the night before his dinner, wrapped it in a paper towel, and brought that out too. Set it all down in the grass in front of the dog. Frank told me what happened next was hard to watch without feeling something shift in your chest. The dog didn't rush it, didn't throw herself at the bowl. She raised her head, looked at Frank just for a beat, just a second of eye contact, like she was registering something, and then she put her nose down to the water, and she drank. She drank that entire bowl without lifting her head once. Frank refilled it. She drank half of the second one. Then she moved to the food, every piece, slow and steady, not frantic, just thorough. The lamb chop she held between her front paws and worked at carefully, like she was trying to be decent about it. Frank stayed right there on the wet lawn next to her the whole time, sat with her while she ate. When she finished, she put her chin back down and looked up at Frank again. And that's when Frank noticed the tag. Small metal tag on her collar. Worn, dinged up. The kind of tag that's been on a dog for years and has the scratches to prove it, but still readable. Frank leaned in and made out two things, a name and a phone number. The name on the tag said Sadie. Frank went to the garage. He's kept his spare leash and collar on a hook out there ever since the fostering years. Just habit, just in case. Grabbed the 15-footer, looped it around Sadie's collar. Sadie stood right up for it, no fuss, let herself be walked to the lamppost at the edge of the front walkway, and lay back down next to it. Sighed. Like that was perfectly fine. Like she understood completely what was happening and had no objections to any of it. Then Frank went inside and called the number on the tag. 5:22 in the morning. He almost waited. He told me he stood there in the kitchen with his phone, thinking about the hour, thinking about calling someone before sunrise. But then he thought, if it was my dog, if Biscuit had been out there somewhere for who knows how long, I would want somebody to pick up that phone the second they found him. Any hour, any time. So he called. A man picked up on the second ring. And Frank said, he said you could hear it in his voice right away, soon as he said hello. He wasn't groggy. Wasn't the half-asleep voice of somebody you've just pulled out of a deep sleep. He was alert, tight. The kind of alert that means your body stopped fully committing to sleep a while ago, because some part of your brain is always listening for a call. Frank told him, I think I have your dog. Her tag says Sadie, is that right? The line went quiet. Not the quiet of confusion, not, what? Who is this? What are you talking about? The quiet of somebody who just heard something they've been terrified to hope for and isn't sure yet if they're allowed to believe it. He said, oh my God, barely above a whisper, not a shout. That quiet, disbelieving kind of reaction you can't fake. Then, his voice cracking just slightly, he said, "Yes, that's her. That's her name. Where are you? Where did you find her?" Frank gave him the name of the community, the streets, Columbia. Silence again. And then he told Frank. Sadie had been missing for 14 days. He'd taken her out to Folly Beach. He went regular, took Sadie all the time because she loved it, loved running on the open sand near the water, and he had her off leash the way he always did because she'd always been solid about it. But something scared her. He didn't know what. A noise somewhere, maybe a car backfiring, maybe a bird that came out of nowhere. Whatever it was, she bolted, and he couldn't get to her fast enough. And then she was just gone. He looked for 2 days straight on that beach and the area around it, called every shelter within 50 miles, put flyers up across 3 counties, drove the roads at night with his windows down, calling her name until his voice gave out. His family came to help. Neighbors came to help. People he'd never met before came to help because they'd seen the flyers. 2 weeks. Nothing. No sightings, no calls, no sign of her anywhere. He said that he and his wife had gotten to the point, quietly, without really saying it directly to each other, the way couples do when something hurts too much to say out loud, where they were starting to let go, starting to accept that Sadie wasn't coming back. Not lost anymore, just gone. And now this man on the phone is telling him his dog is lying in a front yard in Columbia, South Carolina. Folly Beach to Columbia. 65 miles. Let that sit for a second. 65 miles through everything between the coast and the Midlands. 2 weeks on the road, however she managed it, whatever she ate, wherever she slept. 65 miles, and she ended up in our yard. He said he'd be there as fast as he could. Frank went back outside and stayed with Sadie while the sky started shifting. That slow, almost reluctant way morning comes in South Carolina. Dark blue going to gray, going to the first thin wash of gold through the tree line. Sadie dozed a little. Not all the way out, one ear always tilted up, eyelids that never quite got all the way closed. The kind of half sleep where you're trusting the situation enough to rest, but you're not ready to fully let your guard down. I slept through every single bit of this. I just want to be very clear about that. I was upstairs, asleep, had no idea any of it was happening. Not my proudest moment. I came downstairs at 6:45. I know. First thing I noticed, Biscuit was in the kitchen instead of his usual spot near the front window. Odd. Second thing I noticed was Frank at the counter, both hands wrapped around his mug, looking out toward the front yard with this expression he gets. And I know this expression well after 28 years. It's the one where something has genuinely moved him, and he's still sitting with it. Not sad, not happy exactly, just full, like he's holding more than the usual amount of feeling and being quiet about it. I said, "What happened?" And he told me. I stood there in my bathrobe and my old slippers, and I listened to the whole thing from the beginning. And somewhere around the part where he said 65 miles, I set my coffee mug down on the counter. Didn't trust my hands with it anymore. 65 miles. I want you to actually think about that for a minute. Don't just let it be a number you heard me say. Really think about it. Get in your car sometime and drive 65 miles and pay attention. Notice how many towns you go through, how many traffic lights, how many stretches of nothing between places. Notice the overpasses, the highways, the spots where there's no sidewalk, no shoulder, just asphalt and traffic going 55 miles an hour or faster. Notice the railroad crossings, the drainage ditches, the spots where a creek cuts under the road. Now, take away the car. Take away the road signs, the GPS, the phone. Put yourself on foot. No idea which direction is right, just something. Instinct maybe, or memory, or something else we don't really have a name for. And do that for 14 days, sleeping wherever you can find something dry enough, eating whatever you can find, drinking from puddles after rain if that's what's available, or a creek if you're lucky enough to cross one that runs clean. That's what Sadie did. I walked over to the front window and looked out at her. She was next to the lamppost by then, head up, watching a mockingbird in the magnolia tree across the way with calm, curious eyes. A neighbor came through the guest gate with his coffee cup, just starting his morning walk, and she tracked him, alert but not worried, not tense, just watching. She looked like a dog who had arrived exactly where she meant to be. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like I'm projecting, like I'm putting a story onto an animal that doesn't know anything about stories. Maybe I am. I spent over 20 years in nursing. I'm a practical, grounded person by nature. I deal in what's real, what's in front of me, what can be helped. And here's the thing I keep getting stuck on. We live in a gated community. There are fences, a key-padded gate on the main entrance. The only way in without the code is a gap near the maintenance entrance that the landscapers use. Nothing dramatic, but a deliberate gap nonetheless. Sadie had to find that, had to find a way through a perimeter into this neighborhood she'd never been in before. And once she was in, dogs everywhere, literally everywhere. You can't walk half a block through this community without hearing a dog behind a fence or a door. If Sadie was following her nose looking for something safe, she had dozens of choices, probably more. She passed all of them and lay down in front of our house, in front of the house where Frank keeps a spare leash on a hook in the garage from his fostering years, in front of the house where Frank was already awake, already watching at exactly the right moment, in front of the house where the person who went outside knew, just from looking, what that dog needed and exactly how to give it to her. I don't know what to do with that combination of things. I really don't. I've tried to take it apart and find the rational explanation that ties it all together neatly, and I can get partway there. Maybe it was Biscuit's scent coming from the yard, familiar, safe, another dog who wasn't a threat. Maybe she'd been on the road so long that any soft grass would have done it, and we just happened to be the one she reached first. Maybe it's pure coincidence, dressed up in a way that feels meaningful because we're human and we can't help making meaning out of things. Maybe. But I keep coming back to Frank and what I know about Frank, and the fact that in 28 years, I've come to believe that certain people have something, some quality that animals pick up on. Not just comfort around them, something that animals themselves register, even from a distance, even through glass in the dark. I can't name it, I just know my husband has it. And I know Sadie found him. The man pulled up at 7:51 in the morning. Dark blue pickup truck, the kind that's got some years on it, a few dings, a toolbox in the bed, a working truck. He came through the guest gate slow, like he was afraid to go too fast in case the address was wrong and none of this was actually real yet. I was on the porch by then. Frank was down at the bottom of the steps, closer to where Sadie was leashed at the lamppost. Sadie heard him first. I watched it happen in real time, and I'm glad I did because I don't think I'd believe it if I hadn't seen it. Her head came up, all the way, fully up, ears straight forward. Her nostrils went wide, and then everything in her body changed, not gradually, all at once, like a switch. 1 second, she's resting. Next second, every muscle she has is awake and pulling forward. She got to her feet. This dog that had been lying down for going on 3 hours, that looked like she'd been through everything the state of South Carolina could throw at her, she was on her feet and straining forward against that leash. And the sound coming out of her wasn't barking. It was something between a whine and a cry, high and urgent and unraveling a little at the edges. The kind of sound that doesn't have a clean translation, but that if you've ever loved a dog, you know in your gut exactly what it means. He got out of that truck while it was still rocking. Big man, mid-50s, broad shoulders, the kind of build that comes from actual physical work, not a gym. The kind of guy who's probably never in his adult life just started crying in front of people. He came through our gate at a jog, and he got maybe 10 feet into the yard, and then he just went down. Down to his knees in the grass, Frank unclipped the leash. Sadie crossed that last bit of yard and hit him with everything she had left. Paws up on his chest, nose in his face, tail going so hard her whole back end was swinging with it. And he wrapped both arms around her and he held on like he was afraid to let go. He was shaking. I could see it from where I was standing on the porch. This big, solid man shaking. He said her name over and over, quiet into her fur. Sadie, Sadie. Hey girl, Sadie.
Sarah.
I had to look somewhere else.
Sarah.
I'm 52 years old, and there are maybe 4 things that have made me cry in the last decade, and I was not adding a 5th one in my own front yard. But it was close. I looked over at Frank. Frank was already past the point of fighting it, both hands over his mouth, eyes bright, just letting it happen. We gave them their time. Some moments you don't interrupt. And standing there watching them, this man and his dog reunited after 2 weeks and 65 miles of everything, I thought about Biscuit. Just out of nowhere, I thought about him, about the way he's always just there when Frank comes home, even if he's only been gone 20 minutes. The way he finds us in whatever room we're in and just settles close, not demanding anything, just present. Like his whole job is to know where we are. I never thought about that as a choice before. I always thought of it as just dog behavior, instinct, something bred into them over thousands of years of living alongside us. But watching Sadie press into that man's chest like she was trying to confirm he was real, I don't know. It felt less like instinct and more like something else, something that has a name I just don't know yet. When he finally stood back up, Sadie pressed flat against his leg like she needed that contact to confirm this was still real. He looked over at us. Voice came out rough and quiet. He said, "I don't know how to thank you. I honestly don't." Frank did the thing he always does, just waved his hand like it was nothing. He said, "She found us. We just gave her some food and made the call." He asked about her condition. Was she hurt? How did she seem? And Frank walked him through what he'd observed. Weight loss, the worn paws, the scratches. He nodded at all of it, said he was driving straight to their vet the moment he left our neighborhood. Then he reached for his wallet. I could see him thinking, trying to come up with a number that matched what he was feeling, and Frank stopped him before he even got the words out. I backed Frank up on that without saying anything. Some things you just don't put a price on. That's a rule in this house. We stood in the driveway and talked a few more minutes. He told us about Sadie, 7 years old, had her since she was 8 weeks, went to Folly Beach with him half a dozen times a year because she loved the water, loved the open sand. He said she'd always been so steady that he'd let his guard down. One moment. That was all it took. He said, "I drove those roads every single night after she went missing, windows down, calling her name until my voice was gone. My wife kept telling me I needed to stop, that I needed to accept it, and I couldn't let go of it. I kept thinking she was still out there." Frank said, "Well, sounds like she wasn't ready to let go of it either." He looked at Frank for a second, then gave one slow nod. "No," he said. She wasn't. He got Sadie up into the back seat. She hopped right in like she'd been doing it her whole life, because she had, and he drove slowly out through the gate. And right before the truck reached the street, that's when it happened. The thing I said at the very beginning that I wanted you to stay for. Sadie got back up on the seat, put her front paws up on the door, and looked out the window. She looked back at Frank. Frank was standing at the end of our front walk, arms folded across his chest, watching them go. And this dog who had walked 65 miles across South Carolina and shown up in our yard before sunrise, she pressed her nose against that glass and she looked at my husband, just for a moment, just long enough. Then the truck turned the corner and she was gone. Frank stood there a little while after. Then he walked back up to the porch where I was standing, and I put my arms around him and held on. Didn't say a word. He held me back. Neither of us said anything. What are you supposed to say to something like that? I've turned that morning over in my head more times than I can count. More than I probably should, honestly. But it keeps coming back. There are questions that just don't leave me alone. What did Sadie do for 2 weeks out there? I mean that practically. Where did she sleep at night? What did she eat? Scraps from somewhere, something she found? Did anybody leave food out and not know they were feeding a dog that was 60 miles from home? Were there people who saw her on the road and didn't stop? Were there people who did stop, gave her something and sent her on her way without knowing she was trying to get somewhere? I'll never have the answers to any of that. That whole 2-week stretch of her journey, it happened and nobody recorded it and nobody's ever going to fully know. And something about that, about the part of the story I can't see, is the part I find hardest to set down. The other question, the simpler one that's harder at the same time, is just why our house? In 65 miles, there are thousands of houses. There are dozens of neighborhoods, hundreds of yards with dogs, with people, with food and water and safety waiting on the other side of a door. She had options. She had options the entire time. She passed every single one of them and lay down in our grass, in front of the house where Frank was already awake, in front of the house where the person who went outside knew exactly how to approach a scared, exhausted stray dog, not because he read it somewhere, but because he'd spent 10 years doing exactly that for rescue animals, in front of the house with the spare leash on the garage hook. Coincidence, sure, that's the rational answer, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But here's the thing. I've spent over 20 years in a field built entirely on caring for people in their most vulnerable moments. And when something keeps refusing to resolve, when you keep looking at it from every angle and it keeps not behaving like coincidence, at some point you have to consider that maybe it isn't one. Maybe dogs know something about people that we haven't figured out how to measure yet. Maybe 65 miles of roads and nights and hunger and fear taught Sadie something about which doors were safe and which weren't. Maybe she'd been reading people the whole way and storing it up. And maybe she finally found what she was looking for. And here's what I keep coming back to, the thing that I think is really underneath all of it, underneath all my questions and all my turning it over. Dogs don't love us because they have to. They're not small children who depend on us for survival and have no other option. They're not prisoners. They have legs and instincts and 65 miles worth of proof that they can find their own way when they need to. They stay because they want to. Sadie ran from their beach not because she didn't love her owner. She ran because something startled her, and then she couldn't find her way back, and she spent 2 weeks trying. 2 weeks? That's not an animal who forgot about the person she belonged to. That's an animal who never stopped trying to get back to him. If you have a dog right now, if there's one asleep at your feet or on your couch or pressed against your leg while you watch this, I want you to think about that for a second. That animal chose your house, chose your couch, chose your particular smell and your particular voice and your particular way of existing in the world. Out of everything available, they picked you. I don't think we think about that enough. I really don't. I don't know. I genuinely don't have a clean answer for any of it. What I know is that Sadie's home, she's okay. She's probably on that beach in Folly right now, charging into the water like nothing happened, because that's what dogs do. They don't carry the weight of what they've been through the way we do. They move forward. They're better at it than we are. And every now and then, when Frank gets up early and I'm still upstairs, which is most mornings, let's be real, I think about him sitting on that couch with his coffee, biscuit at his feet, that quiet dark blue sky outside the window, and I think about a dog who walked 65 miles and decided to stop right there. I'm really glad she did. If this story got to you at all, if you held your breath somewhere in there, or thought about a dog you love, or one you've lost, or just felt that quiet wonder about why animals do the things they do, I want to hear from you. Drop something in the comments. Tell me what you think. Do you believe Sadie chose that yard? Or do you think it was chance? A road-weary dog who just ran out of road and stopped where she stopped? There's no wrong answer. I genuinely turn that question over myself, and I don't know where I land. And if you've got a story, if your dog has ever done something that stopped you cold, something you couldn't fully explain, tell me. Drop it down there. Those are the ones I read twice. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is for people who love dog stories, the ones that make you laugh, the ones that make you cry, and everything in between. For better or for worse, we tell them all. Hit subscribe if you want more. One last thing, and I mean this. If you have a dog right now, go find them. Right now, before this video even ends, go find them. Don't just glance over. Go to them. Get down on their level. Let them sniff your hands and look at your face the way they do. That full, searching, completely present look that no human being has ever given me in my life, if I'm honest. And just be still with them for a minute. Because here's what Sadie's story did to me, if I'm being completely real with you. It made me realize that every single day my dog is alive and next to me is a day I could be paying more attention to. Every morning Biscuit is at Frank's feet before I even come downstairs is a morning I'm grateful that dog chose our house. We don't get them forever. We know that going in, and somehow it never quite prepares you. So while you have them, really have them, while they're here and warm and breathing and doing that thing with their paws when they dream, be there. Be actually there with them. That's what Sadie walked 65 miles to get back to. That's what every dog on earth is asking for, every single day. Just be there. I'll see you in the next one.